Alrighty. Let's see. All right, so if you're tuning in, essentially had a technical difficulty on the last stream. So I kind of rebooted it, and right now I'm doing the retouch on the skin, and currently right now on the flesh tones of the skin, just making them all really even. I'm doing that in frequency separation, which is basically where you separate the color from the texture. And then what I did with the color after I smoothed everything out is I also did a surface blur. And right now, after I did a surface blur, I put a inverted mask to where it wouldn't show up. And right now I'm painting in the areas that I want to be smoothed out. What's cool about this kind of process is that you can smooth out the flesh tones and it won't affect the texture. So you still get that realism of all that beautiful texture that's in skin. I think that's really important, or at least for my work. So what I'm doing is going over that whole pass real quick. Things that I'm avoiding are places where there's hard lines that I want to keep that dimension intact. But I use this technique on the arms and legs and the big surfaces of the skin. I do a little bit on the face, like on the brow, a little bit on the cheeks where the blush would be if I'm working with a female model. But I'll avoid places like the eyes, the nose, the details of the lips, etc. But what I'm looking for is just really kind of creamy skin. I'll also avoid it on the hair because I like the hair to be a bit sharp. So I'm just playing in this area. Cool. See, I missed this arm entirely, so I'm going to touch that really quick. Get my mic closer to my face. I hope y'all can hear me okay. And then I'm going down. Here we go. So in my kind of looks that I'm refining and teaching myself how to do, kind of like how I want to present people, I really like those soft flesh tones. But I also really love skin details, so texture is important to me. All right, so that's kind of done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to call that paint. And then there's a couple of areas that I kind of want to touch up real quick. So what I'm going to do is go to my Heal Brush tool, current and below, diffusion is going to be 5. And then things like areas like right here, I'm going to go and kind of touch those up really quick and just smooth them out even more without kind of blurring them. I don't like overdoing it, but at the same time I do want that contrast. All right, cool. So I want to say that I'm happy with her skin tones and the general feel of kind of how she's presented. I don't like that. Cool. All right, how do I want to do that? All right, cool. I think I'm pretty much good with that. So that'll be a good kind of base to work with. There's always an invite to hit the chats if y'all want to say hi or interact, or if you have questions. You're always welcome to do so. Let's save that really quick. And then, cool. All right, so with that, I still want to keep the texture and the color separate. And then I'm going to start doing my color grading. And that'll be super fun. All right, so I'm going to go to this blurred layer. I'm going to go to my actions. I have quite a few that I've collected over the years between doing digital art, you know, kind of fine art, photography, a little bit on the surreal side. But there's, let's see, one that I got from kind of a lecture course from this Polish photographer, but I like her maps the most as far as what they do. So basically actions are like an automated thing, and it's based on recording mouse clicks. So you could hit record right here, and then it's going to record everything that you do. So essentially all of this is the mouse clicks, if you will, that make it so that you can go do that, and then it just makes it an automated thing. So, do I want to do that now? All right, I'm actually going to do this real quick. I'm going to do a stamp of everything, so I'm going to merge everything together. I'm going to ditch this frequency separation. I'm going to copy this, paste it into here, and then this one I'm going to call layer 0. And this one I'm also going to call layer 0. And what this is going to do is when I do frequency separation again, it's going to help this action follow my naming conventions so it works properly. So with that, I'm going to grab this. Do I want to do before or after? I'm going to go ahead and color grade before I do frequency separation again. So basically I'm going to do the actions of the lights, the darks, and the midtones rather. And then what I'm going to do is zoom, and I'm going to have the whole composition on the right. And then I'm going to have pretty much right here on the left. And that way I can kind of see from a more detailed perspective, but also a universal perspective, the things that I'm doing. And just kind of go from there. All right, so with that, with light maps, essentially, you can color grade, and you can do so in a very accurate way, because it's going to go and pull a series of channels out to where if I go select it, it's only selecting essentially these areas. So that's the lightmost, so light map 1 in my luminosity masks. And what I'm going to do with that is start color grading. So real quick, let's see, if I go and grab this up here, if I go and play with selective color, I'm in the reds. I want to warm her up just a little bit. And I am working with the highlights, but not like the specular highlights just yet. So these are almost like the universal highlights. Put a little magenta. So what I did is I pulled the cayenne or the blue out of the reds. I jacked up or increased the magentas a little bit. And then I'm also going to jack up the yellows a little bit. And what I'm doing is essentially I'm pulling her out. So I shoot Nikon, and even though I can shoot vivid and get a lot of color maybe out of Capture One out of camera, it's not quite as much as maybe what a Sony or a Canon will do with their color lookup tables, or what maybe a Hasselblad or a Phase 1 camera, like your medium format cameras. So I shoot DSLR full frame, and I shoot Nikon because I just like the camera. So that's what I have currently. But I do need to actually play with bringing the image to life. So that's what I'm doing now. I always do retouch first, so that I have a very clean image to work with, and then I just kind of work from there. So I don't want to play with the blacks at all on that. Magentas. So a lot of this is kind of plug and play, so I am kind of just goofing off with the sliders a little bit. And sometimes I think that there's a color in the image and there's just not. So I'm assuming that most of the actual reds are actually in the reds. It's not in the magenta. So it's not having any information for me to pull, or at least in the luminosity mask that I currently have selected. So what's cool about this is like if you ever do dodge and burn, there's a lot of things that you could do with luminosity masks. That's just with the color, and you can go play with dodge and burn before you even dodge and burn, and it sometimes makes it so it's not even necessary. So for instance, in the whites, I went to go pull out the magenta, right? And now she's got that sheen look, all right? It's almost on the yellow front, but I was able to go pull that out by pulling the magenta out. So kind of like that right there. And it is in the yellow spectrum, so what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to pull the yellows down too, and that I don't want yellows in the highlights, especially if I end up keeping the background reasonably the color that it is. So again, I can pull the blacks out of the whites. And again, that's going to help me with dimensionality. All right, cool. All right, so off to the neutrals. You do, or at least I am careful about where I use this. In that you can make a lot of very, very big changes, and I don't want to do that. I want to make subtle changes. So I'm going to go back to a point of reference. And pull the blues out again. I'm going to leave the magentas where they are. And crank the yellows just a little bit, not too much. I don't think I want to, maybe I do. I think I'm going to leave the blacks where they are. And then I'm going to go to blacks. This is another thing where little changes can make a big difference. But now I can go, because I did the touch up already, I can go and add a lot of shadow to it. So essentially, I mean, that's quite a big difference of dimension. I'm not sure if I want to do it with the blacks, simply because that might be a little severe. But what I can do is I can go and play with the other colors in it, and that way I'm getting some of that darkness in there, but I'm getting like a rich color, or richer color. So I think I'll play with that. So a little bit of the blue, a little bit of orchid, and a little bit of magenta. I appreciate that. So, yeah, I like this model a lot. She's super, super fun to shoot with. And she's got like a wide range. She could be emotive. You know, her background's in dance. Just really, really cool range of images that I can get with her. I like working with her a lot. So I think this luminosity mask is pretty good with the selective color, and the changes are subtle, but it's giving me a good base to work with. So this is kind of before that one luminosity mask. I'm about to add, you know, maybe 15 layers to this, and then this is after. But what it's doing is it's getting my kind of flat shooting Nikon, and it's helping me to kind of bring her to life. You know, again, I think it's important if you do this kind of workflow, and it's just my opinion, but nevertheless, that you really, really clean the skin really well, and you blend the flesh tones really well first, and that way when you do mess with color on luminosity masks, you don't end up with clipping or just bad flesh tones. I mean, just for lack of a better way of saying that. So I'm going to move to the luminosity mask, the second one, right? And then I'm going to go and select it, see if it gives me, like, I might not have enough contrast for it to actually work, but we'll play. So it did. Cool. All right, so All right, so we're gonna play with reds again, but this is like closer to the specular. So by the time I get to light 3, that's straight up like her straight highlights on her nose and her brow, on her fingers and stuff like that. So that's where I could really get at the pop, even though I'm not doing dodge and burn currently. I really don't think I'll need to do dodge and burn with this image. But again, what I'm doing, this is a slider luminosity mask, so it's covering less area. It's not a universal edit at all. But what you could see just from pulling out like the cayenne from the face, I'll actually zoom that in real quick. See if that'll help you all see a little bit. A little bit less. Cool. But if I go right here and then I go and grab this, maybe. All right. Let's get her over here. Cool. All right. So essentially I can go, and if you look in this area, it's super subtle, but nevertheless is I can go and add life to her lips, and I can add life to her nose and her blush on the side of her cheek by pulling the blues out. But at the same time, I didn't completely blow it out like I often see when people do just universal, look-up tables or edits. Again, it's personal preference, but I'm more partial to being a little bit more subtle with what I do. I think it comes from my background. I used to do oil-based painting a lot, and a lot of oil-based painting, or at least in the way that I was taught and I would do my paintings, would be to do a underpainting, so essentially a monochromatic composition where I'm establishing my values. And then what I would do is I would glaze my color into the image. And I would do that with very thin layers. And I would build those layers up over time. And what you ended up with is a very, very beautiful range of color that you wouldn't be able to get, or I would argue you wouldn't be able to get by simply painting with just broad strokes. So essentially what I'm doing to this image right now is I started with something that was relatively flat with color, and essentially with luminosity masking, I'm glazing in the colors that I want. And then I'm trying to be mindful when I look at the image to the right of the universal, the whole composition, that I'm not overdoing anything. So I almost like pulling the magenta out of the yellows. It basically goes and showcases her lips. Cool. All right, so I'm just gonna mess with the, I think magentas on the yellows. So do I have any retouchers watching right now? Photographers? Anything like that? All right, I'm gonna go to the whites. So this is gonna do your highlights closer to the specular side. All right, So I'm gonna leave that. I think that overdoes it. I'm gonna pull the magenta in a little bit, kind of crank it just a little bit and make that a little bit more subtle. So I want her highlights to be there for sure to kind of shape her out, but I don't want to blow her face out. You know, I think with this image, I'm not going to go for kind of a stylized. I just want to do a good a good representation. Checking on my words. Mainly shoot. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm like super new to photography as far as like the studio. I have so much to learn. Do you do like what type of photography do you use or do primarily? Portrait, special effects. That's super awesome. So what do you like? How does special effects work? Is that essentially like like when I think of that, I think of when I used to do like 3D and like video game type stuff. So like I would go get you know, pictures that I can go make a fireball with, but it'd be like almost like sprites of somebody that was able to capture an explosion. Is that what you mean by special effects, like explosions, like sparks, or you know, glowy things like sci-fi stuff? What does that entail? Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely like to check it out. Like, I think that's what I'm loving about this platform right now is being able to interact with people that have like just awesome skill sets, and that's what I'm learning is like everybody does. Like that's super cool. Um, but yeah, I could definitely go check that out. I think people that play in the special effects, like especially with like cinema and you know cosmetology and stuff like that, like their abilities are just astounding to me. Um, it's way cool. So I'm in the neutrals again, and the luminosity mask. I'm essentially going and trying to pop her out a little bit. But at the same time, I'm really trying to make sure that I'm not overdoing it because I want to do it more as a glazing. I can't post a link. It was blocked. All right, let's see if I can go fix that. That's super crazy. Cool. I got my first streaming technical difficulty that I need to go figure out. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I'll try to figure this out for you. All right. So Twitch. Stream. here we go. Let's see. All right, so I just, I guess, unblocked block hyperlinks. So I'm assuming that would be the way to go about it. So if you want to try it again, if it doesn't work until I guess I'm off of here, then I do apologize. There we go. Haha. Yeah, we got it. Oh, that's wicked. Just right off the bat. All right, so I'm definitely gonna go look into that when I'm done streaming for the day. Hey, thanks for the freaking hyperlink. That's super cool. Super cool. All right, and I solved my first streaming problem at the same time. So big help over here. So do you work in like, if you don't mind me asking, but like, do you work in like teams and like almost like, what would you call that? Like different sets and stuff like that, where you would have everybody with like specialized skills, I'm assuming? Or do you do like a lot of projects where it's like more like, you know, smaller groups of people? Blacks again. So every time I go into the luminosity masking and I play with blacks, I prefer not to do change the black of the black. I'd rather, I don't know if this is just in theory, but I've never liked black for its own sake. I like blacks that are rich, like they have blues in them or, you know, reds or something like that. Like they have a richness to them. I've never liked just straight black. I think anytime I've pulled, you know, black all the way back, it looks very digital. That's super cool. Yeah, I think that's like when I go see working productions of. I narrowed it down to. That's super awesome. Yeah, kudos to you, freaking. Yeah, that's like when people work in teams and I mean, to your point, when they have like just that like-mindedness to where like there's this coherent vision. Yeah, I just think that's like super awesome. You end up getting amazing work, or people tend to. So I'm moving to the third luminosity mask. At this point, I'm going to select the three. I'm going to group them. Do my naming convention to color. Some people like to tag them with different colors, but I don't know. I'll probably end up deleting the whole thing once I clip all or stamp all the layers together. But anyway, green for now. So selective color again, and right now I'm looking for the specular. So this is like the highlights of the highlight. So, and what I want to do with this image is I really want to avoid dodge and burn. Not because I don't like to do it, but it's not necessary in this image from what I'm seeing so far. When I get into the luminosity masks that are in the more in the shadow range, so the darks, a little bit in the midtones, I'll be able to lighten up a lot of these areas, like the arm over here, the legs, over by the feet, stuff like that. So right now I just want to play with the highlights and that dimensionality, and that way I can figure out when I get to the shadows how far I want to pull them, or if I want to pull them. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a lot going on with this particular luminosity mask. So basically I'm looking at the tip of her nose and seeing what kind of shifts occur, if any. When I did the luminosity mask, the action, it basically prompted me that a lot of the masks don't have, they're not 50% gray or better. So what I think about that is that there's not enough contrast in the image to actually pick up a lot of the masks. So like in other images that I do, like you'll have all the way to like light 5 that actually has information that you can select. This one does not. And so what I'm thinking is that the base is just very, the difference between light and shadows is just not severe. So we'll see. So what I might do, if I end up doing a secondary, not sure if I'm going to or not, but frequency separation, I might end up using a levels adjustment or something like that, and maybe curves, and see if I want to do a second pass or not. So far it's seeming like I'm probably not going to do that, so we'll see. We will see. I think this one is going to be just a simple, clean image, and sometimes that's not a bad thing. All right, so with this, when I group them, what's cool is I could go and see the difference of just what a couple color selections will do. What I'm noticing is that when I did my retouch and I smoothed out her flesh tones, I'm getting a line right here and right here. I'm also getting it down here, and I'm also getting kind of a not the best fall off right here. So I might go touch those up. It really depends on what happens when I get to the darker aspects of her face. So cool. All right, so I'm gonna move to midtones real quick. Do the same thing. Move that into my color group. And then reds again. So, and what you'll see with the midtones is I can actually affect quite a bit of the image. So everything with this will be super, super, super subtle. So again, kind of pulling a little bit of the blues out, maybe a little bit less. A lot of my thinking when I do things like this is kind of my whole workflow, as it presently is. So there's no wrong or right answer, but, kind of what works for me. And making sure that, 20 layers down the road, I'm not basically doing problems for myself. I don't want to create problems. I want to eliminate them as quickly as possible. Cool. So let's play with this. I got some snazzy music. So I'm noticing with the midtones, what I mentioned before about the break in hues in these areas of her face are calming down quite a bit, and I'm able to kind of merge them together. and do so without kind of losing dimensionality, or making her flat again, basically. So again, I'm just kind of playing a little bit of slider work. So in the midtones and the lights, there wasn't a whole lot to do with the magenta, but in the midtones there is. So these sliders actually do something, which is cool. And what's really cool about it is it's not affecting the flesh tones, because what I've seen so far is there's no magenta in her actual flesh. It's mostly, what'd you call that? Yellows and reds, which is super cool. Because basically I was able to essentially separate out her romper without... Well, it's kind of a romper. I guess it's a romper with a skirt on it, without having to do any kind of masking. And I think that's pretty rad. So that saves me some grief. Super cool. All right, so we'll punch that just a little bit, but not too bad. I appreciate that. So later on, there's an image that I'm going to be working on. I think this one probably has, I don't know, maybe another half an hour, 45 minutes, but it's going to be an image that I was able to grab this past week, and it's the first time that I used a very large modifier with a diffuser, and the light that I was able to get off of that, with my strobe, it's just really, really cool. So I'll probably be working on that image. It's a little bit, a little bit on the edgy fashion side, but the model is beautiful. The lighting's beautiful. I get to work with freckles, which will be super cool. Those are really fun to retouch, and get that image kind of looking super clean. So I'm excited about that. But that'll probably be, what time is it? I don't know. That'll be probably about 6 o'clock my time. So about an hour or so from now. I'll take a short intermission, but I'll go and basically I'm going to go from Capture 1 and the initial raw color grading and raw adjustments all the way through the workflow and Photoshop. So I'm probably not going to end up pulling any... Well, I might. It's mid-tones. For some reason, I thought I was in the... Okay. Yeah, so actually quite a lot. All right, so... I don't know what I was thinking. So if I go and essentially go crank the magenta up in the wides, I'm able to kind of heal these areas to where they're more seamless. There's not a lot of contrast, but at the same time, I do want that specular highlight to exist. So I'd almost rather tweak that on a later or on another frequency separation, and be able to skip dodge and burn than to do it with luminosity masking and then kind of lose this kind of sheen that I'm I've been able to grab. So I don't know if it's the right answer or not, but we'll see. Right, neutrals. So that does a huge red cast. So neutrals are always, or at least for me, especially because I'm in the mid-tones right now, so I'm doing mid-tones and neutrals, so basically I could just do, 1% in either direction, and it seems to be quite the difference, so I don't know if I'm going to mess with these at all, to be real. Yeah, it just seems a bit too over the top. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave the neutrals alone. All right, cool. All right, I do want to go and see if I could introduce, there we go, some color. So maybe a little bit of red. All right, cool. I'm happy with that, I think. All right, cool. Yep, definitely. All right, let's play with darks a little bit. So, we're gonna go to the main one. Again, selective color. So a lot of selective color currently, and it's just really, a lot of it is just trying to glaze color into different areas of the image that previously it really wasn't that rich or something. All right, and this is where blacks become interesting, in that I'm playing with the actual shadows, so I can go and really change up the look a lot as far as the richness that's already there. So I'm going to set this back to 0, but a lot of what I want to do is get this kind of reddish orange, essentially, on her arm, her leg, and then this area right here. And I want to go and soften that up just a tad. Because what I don't want is like a cast. Like I don't want it to put like a red cast on the image, or an orange, or a green, or something like that. I don't like, in my work at least, maybe I'm just not good at it, but color casts in my images. I like there to be a degree of richness to it. So a lot of my images that I've been doing recently, I've not been doing white backgrounds, even though I'm shooting with a white background. I've been altering them. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that with this image or not. So we shall see. And again, taking away some of the blacks to where I can go in. Go a little bit lighter. All right, so magentas again. Let's see if, yeah, so we're going to be able to play with their dress a little bit, as well as the background. So play with that just a little bit. All right, cool. All right, so now I'm basically being able to infuse color into the shadows, just like I did with the highlights and a little bit with the midtones. And I'm just going to continue to progress. Cool. Right, so we'll go to neutrals and just keep going with it. So it's almost funny because it seems like it's like this, I don't know, play with sliders, but a lot of it is like there's no recipe, you know. When I shoot Danny, my wife, she's got olive skin, you know, so she's got a lot of yellows and greens in her skin. Like if you went to zoom in and pixelate the image, you're gonna find greens in there and stuff. Like skin's really complex, right? And I don't have a recipe for doing skin like hers and then doing, skin like this particular models. So there's no set recipe is the point. When I'll do recipes, like if I need to do a set of images, I'll actually save all of my luminosity masks. And that way, so long as I shot the image in the same light, with the same outfit, I can do a set. With the same model, same background, same light, same outfit, different poses. But what happens is I'm able to get all these luminosity masks, and when I go and run these channels, I can go apply them to the same color modifications that I had done. And so with that is basically I can go and make a recipe for a badge, but definitely not for different people with different lighting situations and etc. So notice that these did not get grouped, so I'm going to pull these up here, and we're going to go back to this image. Again, the neutrals, they tend to make drastic changes. So with a lot of the luminosity masks, I just don't really touch them too much. So I kind of like that a little bit, pull a little bit of that blue out. see what yellow's doing. We're gonna leave yellow alone. All right, cool. All right, so let's play with blacks real quick. And then we can move on, and then color selection will be very much so thing in the past, at least for this image. Cool. So again, with the blacks, I'd prefer to stay in the RGB spectrum and not really mess with the actual black of blacks, in that I don't want to create banding. I don't want to remove color information. I want all the color to have some kind of richness to it. Again, I don't know if that's the right answer, but it's definitely how I like to play with images. All right, so let's play with this real quick. Okay, so that definitely does like a redder cast. Right, so I might play with this secondary luminosity mask, but I don't know if I'm going to do that with color selection. I think I have all the temperatures throughout the image. That might be interesting to look at. We'll see though. I'll jump into the yellow channel really quick, or yellow, and see if anything interesting happens really quick. So maybe with her hair. So I think sometimes the trouble that I'll run into with color grading is not wanting to overdo it, but also not wanting to get that kind of magazine-y feel. And I guess that's kind of broad, or not really fair, but let's see. So I want to stick in the realm of essentially like more of an editorial feel. Not something else. Let's play with neutrals real quick, and then so I was able to go a little bit softer with that, which is kind of cool. And the selective color range, which is pretty neat. Blah, blah, blah. All right. All right, cool. All right, so let's go back to the lights again. Let's play with levels. All right, So with levels, this is interesting because you have RGB, but and then together, and then you also have them separated. So red, green, blue. And what you could do is kind of bring out contrast or you can start the conversation between your lights and darks and have different conversations. So for instance, like if you went and did the midtones and did that, that's going to be kind of universal. Whereas if you just went to the highlights and brought that back, yeah, that's a different kind of conversation. All right, so slide, let's play with reds real quick. So that does a cast, I don't like it. Same. All right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just scrap that one real quick. And this is kind of where like experimentation comes in, right? So I guess the cool thing about not having a tutorial, even though I'm sharing what I'm doing, but like super focused is I can totally goof it and I can totally just play with things, and that's okay. All right, so I'm gonna play with light again. Let's play with vibrance rather. All right, cool. Neat. And light 2, we'll do the same, vibrant. All right, cool. So that might be a good base for a color treatment real quick. I go and just do a universal real quick. So I'll go to shadows, midtones, and highlights. And again, forever doing casts. All right, so let's go to light 1 again. Let's play with color balance. See if that's a little bit more forgiving. And it is. So now this is like where like almost the skin like starts getting creamy. So we'll put that back to 0. And that's where it gets super contrasty. All right, cool. All right, so I might be happy with this currently. Let's get a full screen. Yeah. So her face is presented really well. Nothing is an eyesore. Cool, so super clean, right? All right, so what I'm gonna do is Control Shift Alt E. I'm gonna make a stamp of it. I'm going to discard all of my color adjustments, and that I've done this enough, I guess, to where I don't feel like, you know, I'm going to lose track or memory of what I did to actually do that. Let's see, I'm going to Control C. Control V, and then layer, All right, cool. All right, so, see, I'm gonna save that out real quick. Yay. All right, and then I'm going to go into my actions. I'm going to delete my lights, darks, and midtones. Keep in mind if you if you ever get into luminosity masks, if you don't already use it, if you find them on the internet of like actions that you can use or you do them yourself, you know, when you save your work, like, I don't know, or you're done with the file, you know, like delete the lights, the darks, and the midtones, because it's actually going to make your file size for your working folder quite large. And it's just not necessary if you're not using it. So I'm going to go into frequency separation again and let that kind of think for a second. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of polish off what I just did with the color grading, essentially. Make sure there's nothing that I find distracting. I'm going to figure out if I want to do anything with the background as far as changing the color while I'm in this one. And then I'm going to just finish off the image. Just super, super simple. Yeah, it's a really simple image. The model is super pretty. The skin is super clean. Yeah, there's detail where there needs to be detail. Yeah, I'll take a hard look on the face real quick because there's a couple things that I might want to sharpen, like the entrance of the nostril, like right at the ridge, curvature of the nose, the actual lining of the lips, and then perhaps a little bit of the eyes. But if I do any of that, it'll be super subtle. So, all right, cool. All right, so, blah, blah, blah. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is grab this background copy, or background copy rather. I'm gonna hit my quick selection tool, and then I'm gonna hit select subject. And that'll just think for a minute. Let Photoshop do what it does. Made a pretty good selection. Blah, blah, blah. Of course, it never gets all of the wisps of the hair, but that's also like why I do this in frequency separation. All right, so what I'm gonna do is with that selection, I'm gonna go over this blur surface layer. I'm gonna go to photo filter rather. It's gonna automatically do a mask for me. I'm going to invert that mask so that it's on the background and not on the model. And then I'm gonna go see if this is a thing I wanna do or not, so. All right. So if I did change the background, what I would probably want to do is kind of play with a split complementary. What I want to do is I want to make her pop, right? But I also want to be kind to her outfit. Cool. So I'm thinking somewhere in this range. Sorry. In this range. Maybe do straight up split complementary. So somewhere in maybe that range. Or I could just do something that's actually almost like a monochromatic with a little bit of a pop. So, I don't know. So let's play for a second. So this is kind of one of the reasons why I want to switch to a backdrop that is not cloth, but also goes. So that's kind of cool. So what I could do is I could play with her ring right here. All right, let's go back to this real quick. Back to that. And it doesn't want to select, so I'm going to hit cancel. Okay, that's probably about right. All right, cool. So, kind of zoom out a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of pretty. Kind of ties everything in a little bit. So we'll see if we want to play with it. Yeah, so cloth backdrops. I don't know why I always want to change the color of them, but I do. Maybe it's on board or something. But I think the only time I've really liked like a white backdrop that's cloth is more of a practicality, because when I'm shooting, I can do a lot with it. And I can also change the color and cut the subject out pretty quick if I want to. All right, cool. So brush, I'm going to do the flow, drag that down to about 10. Up to vertical. So what I want to see is the whole composition. And then I want the actual model kind of zoomed in a little bit so I can actually work and see what I'm doing, and making sure that I don't damage the whole photo at the same time. So I'm going to do a very, very brief intermission real quick, go get a drink, and I will be right back. If you're staying tuned, just enjoy the music, I suppose. All right, later minute. Alright, cool beans. And I'm back yet again. So I'm kind of digging this blue backdrop. So let's see what we could do with it. Alright, cool beans. Alright, so with frequency separation, it makes it so that you can go and I guess my music dropped out. Let's go fix that real quick. What do I want to play with? All right, cool. We'll play with that. All right, let's see what happens. All right, cool. So with the mask, because it's under the texture, I can go and make little adjustments in her hair and not worry too much about infusing color into her hair. So I'm just going to go around real quick, make little subtle adjustments, and see what we can do with it. So basically what I'm looking for is making sure that, like over here, it didn't touch the color shift at all. But again, I just want to introduce the background a little bit, but I don't want to go into her color at all. I think that looks fine. So I missed a spot right here with the mask, so I'll clean that up real quick. And again, what's cool is that I could get right up in there. And so when there's like corners in here where it goes to a sharp corner in the mask, what I'll usually do is I'll actually go over and make sure that I fill it in. And then I'll hit X on my keyboard and switch it to, or the main color to be black, and then I'll just erase it out of the remaining because it's easier to make straight strokes on the outside of a triangle versus filling it in. So just switching between those two. That's cleaned up. See, even though I think Photoshop does a really great job with masking, I do inspect basically all of the skin or all of the borders around the mask to make sure that it didn't bleed in. And that when I go to collapse the image again or make a stamp of it and merge all the layers together, I don't want to have to do frequency separation again to fix it. So like right here, it bled in. So I'm going to remove all of that from her outfit. And make it so that it's really clean. Also, when I'm going around and kind of inspecting, I'm looking for halos. making sure that there's no halos. That I have to go fix later. So I was working on an image over the weekend, and you know, just kind of learning from my mistakes, but there was quite a bit of haloing that happened, and it was a pain in the butt to go fix. So it's easier to do it when you see it and just take the time for it than trying to do it later. So get by your fingers real quick. Just kind of trim that up. And again, I'm just switching between black and white as my brush color to remove and add the mask. Another thing that you'll see with quick selection or selecting the subject is that because the shadows can be contrasty, like the shadows that she's contrasting or putting down on the floor, it's recognizing that as the subject, the actual shadow. And so it kind of went around. And recognize that that's the actual subject, so I need to go and make sure that that blue is in the actual shadows. Cool. Again. Oops. Just kind of painting around. Getting this sort of thing going. And here we go. All right, very cool. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised, but nevertheless, I haven't seen any haloing at all. Just a little bit of bleed and a little bit of, into the actual model, and a little bit of a few areas that it didn't want to go into at all. All right, so I feel good about that. And that looks pretty sharp. All right, so I like the color harmonies going on in the image. It brings her out quite a bit. And that makes me happy. All right, so let's go play with that. Yeah, super pretty. Cool. All right, so heel brush tool. We're gonna go to current layer. And, oops. We'll heal that up and that up really quick. And that looks pretty good. All right, let's go to the paint layer really quick. We're gonna do current and below, diffusion of 5. Oops. A bit overzealous. Here we go. It's super pretty. Soften up this area a little bit. All right, fun. All right, so I feel pretty good about that. So what I'm gonna do is go back to full screen, see if I want to change this a little bit. So this background filter, I like that color, right? And I don't want to make it destructive by making too many channels or too many changes to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a hue and saturation layer. I'm going to clip it to the layer below by hitting Alt-click right at the divide. And then I'm going to go in here, and what I can do is now I can go and play with stuff. Yeah, the hue, the saturation, and the lightness. And see what kind of look I want to do. So what I might do is just desaturate it just a little bit. Cool, just a little bit of a subtle change. It's not too bad. Let's see if I like that or not. Cool. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab all this real quick. I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to move those up here. did it above that. Okay, cool. I'm going to delete my frequency separation because I don't need it anymore. The reason that I moved these two up is I want to be able to have that mask if I need it again. So I'm going to group that. Background. Or I'll put backdrop actually. Cool. That blue. That's fine. And then I'm gonna grab this through this. And I go get rid of those. Cool. All right, so have that. So I feel pretty good about that. Okay, so with this, I'm gonna save it real quick. And then I'm gonna do a couple things outside of Photoshop. And that kind of, I don't know, I just like to play with. So I'm gonna go do that and it'll be super fun. All right, so that's saved. I'm gonna run the filter. So there's a program that I like to use that interfaces with Photoshop. It's called Alien Skin or Exposure 3, right? And I'm gonna go send this over here. I wonder. So I guess I need to do a new scene where I have my settings to where they're not covering all the interface. Oh well. All right, so be it for now. Let's do this real quick. Let's go duplicate. Do that. Or maybe I won't. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll just leave it for now. I'm not going to be in here terribly long. So cool. All right, so what I did is I hit reset because it'll save pretty much what you did to the last image, and I don't want that. All right, so let's go move this up. And we'll call this, so rename. Cool. All right, so cool. I just made another scene and we'll go. And kind of oops. Mm. Cool. We'll just kind of move those out of the way. I'll do a transition real quick. And here we go. Okay, now you can see what I'm doing. So I just made a whole nother scene. All right, so this stuff over to right under, I guess, my thumbnail with my webcam. I don't really use those. They're just kind of film grades and stuff like that that you can go like apply to the actual image. And I don't know, just not my thing. What I use this program for primarily is almost like if you went into like Photoshop Raw or something like that. But it's cool because I can work in layers. So I'm gonna go do that, and I like how it treats everything. So what I'm gonna do is play real quick, and what it's gonna do is just play with that. Don't want to play with that. So a lot of what I like to work with is the luminosity of colors. Cool. All right, so let's see. All right. So basically, like I could go, for instance, play with the reds and stuff like that. So I'm going to kind of tweak those a little bit. So this kind of reminds me of like how Capture One separates colors as opposed to how Photoshop does. And what I'm looking for is just tying her in the right way. Figuring out if I want to add vignetting to the image or not. And then again, kind of playing with a slight like creaminess to the skin. So there's not a whole lot that I'm seeing that I would completely want to alter. But a lot of what I like with working with this particular application is almost like it seems like there's this creaminess that occurs in the skin with what I'm able to do with the color, and I quite like that a lot. So like whereas Photoshop recognizes her blouse as magenta, yeah, this application does as well, but to a different degree. We kind of do a little bit different. play with that a little bit. So saturation. Cool. All right, so I'm going to add a layer to this. And then I'm going to go to, might play with that for a second. And we're not going to play with that. Where is it? Where did it go? Vignette. There we go. So that's another thing that I like about this particular little app. Is when I use vignetting. Of course, I can go do this with, just a layer and a mask with Photoshop and using, levels. I'm just gonna see this real quick. So oops. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna add one more layer. I'm gonna go jump to the top real quick. And make some very, very, very slight twigs. Cool. And let's see. Cool, I think I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. So we're gonna go apply that. It's gonna shoot us back to Photoshop. And then, cool. All right, so that's kind of I guess a before and after. All right, sweet. All right, so one other thing that I like that's a plugin is this right here. And what it does is it's essentially like if I want to make like, I don't know, like a glow to something, I can. So we'll see how it goes. We shall see. Cool. All right, so if I hit X-ray real quick, it's going to show me kind of what it's going to affect. So I can go play with like the threshold and calm that down a little bit. Go back to this. And we'll see if the look I want is there. Huh. Kind of, sort of, but I'm not sure. So let's go to colorize real quick. Desaturate it. Cool, so now instead of that, like that red cast that it did, there's more of a white. I'm gonna lower the threshold a little bit. So, and a lot of this stuff you can do directly in Photoshop. There we go, just a slight. All right, so I'm gonna save that out real quick. And then see if I like what's going on. And then basically I'm just gonna go see if I wanna go sharpen anything real quick. If I wanna calm anything down. And that's about it. So do my crops. And kind of go from there. All right, so Photoshop is done thinking. So it's super, super, super slight. But I think I like it. Yeah, I like it. All right, cool. So, 47 Islands. What's up? Thanks for tuning in. To kind of give you an overview, this is what I've been kind of working on recently, or the last like hour or so. So I'm doing the final little cleanups, and then it's going to be a day on that. But I will be back, I think, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes after this image. I'm going to go and do more of an editorial one that I'm super, super excited about. So here we go. So all right, so I'm going to get that. I'm going to fill screen, zoom into this. All right, cool. All right, so with kind of actions, I'm gonna go and make a stamp of this real quick. And then I'm gonna go into my actions. I don't know if you've ever been on YouTube, like with like Flern or whatever. But anyway, like years ago, I got like this one action that's basically for like amazing eyes or something like that. I don't really use it for its intended purposes. I just like what would you call that? The high pass that it does. And so it's just a quick or dirty way to kind of do that real quick. So I'm going to launch that real quick. It'll prompt me through it. Set me up, and then we'll kind of go from there. Kind of like so I guess it's a hobby in that I'm not taking commercial or commission work right now. Right now, all I'm doing is I don't know, building a community, learning how to retouch, learning how to shoot. Like I started, I think, in August of this year. Yeah, it was pretty much the end of August. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out what my look is so that I can start playing with editorial type photography, maybe a little bit of fashion, a little bit of portraiture, and then we'll see. So, if people like your work enough to pay for it, then I guess you have clients at that point. But for right now, it's just me goofing off on Twitch. I just kind of started this sort of thing where I stream what I do, and then I just started, Instagram. So basically, I'm starting from scratch. So we'll just see how it goes. But eventually, I would like to do this as an actual legit thing that I do. Right now, it's just goofing off. So the reason that I like this, I guess, amazing eyes, what do you call it? Action is that the Fleurin, the people that I guess designed it, they ended up making this this high pass into a smart filter. So I've been shooting since, I guess, with this type of stuff since August. And then I used to do kind of like still life, like maybe 2-3 years ago. Where I would do like, I don't know, maybe like more of a fine art type thing. But shooting like this, actually shooting people and stuff like that, I'm very new to it. So, short answer is basically the end of August of this year. So I think just under or just over 3 months. Let's see. So I think a lot of if people, I guess in the last like especially a month, people have essentially told me that, like, well, how are you, doing images that are, reasonably, decent and stuff like that for not shooting very long. And I think it's because I just have a background in fine art and painting and stuff like that. So I'm applying basically other things that I've done to photography, and then just kind of go from there. But like I have a lot to learn as far as photography. Like for instance, like a lot of what I do in like Photoshop is correcting where I messed up, like as a photographer in studio. I just learned about like really big modifiers, like how I can do really soft light with them. That's actually going to be the next image that I work on. It'll be the first shoot that I was able to use really soft light, and it's just stunning on the model. She's beautiful anyway, but like, you could get a beautiful person with bad lighting and it's just bad. But this image, for instance, I'm just using an octabox. So I had to fake a lot of the softness in Photoshop, in retouch and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of things, like as an actual photographer, that I'm just now learning and very amateur with. So I think anything that I do, like in Photoshop, it's just because I've played with Photoshop for a long time, with different things. So, but all right. So with the sharpness, so basically what I did is I took away all the color grading. All I want is the high pass smart filter, and so what I'm going to do is go to this. If I could get my display. Let's see. I'm going to go to this mask and I'm going to go and start tweaking it to go figure out what things I want to sharpen, if anything. So a thing that I've noticed in photography circles is people will way overdo the eyes. Super sharp. So this is how it is right now, but I'm going to calm that down quite a bit. But what I like to do is I like sharpness in the eyes, but reasonable. I like sharpness on the edge of the lips, just where that specular is. But again, I'm going to calm that down right at the opening of the mouth, right at the nostril where it flares. Again, going to calm it down. And I think that's all I'm going to do with that one. So what I'll do is zoom that in one more time just to make sure I know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to hit X, and I'm going to go to black as my primary color so I can start scrubbing out the color. And instead of a flow of 100, I'm going to go, I don't know, maybe about 15, 16, something like that. And we'll go with 14. Screw it. All right. So Yeah, I appreciate that so much. Yeah, so I think right now it's just trying with the studio. Like I really want to really know how to control light, like before I get into post or Photoshop, and really, you know, learn how to do that and do that really well. So right now it's just indoors studio setting. Basic backdrop. So I guess my thought process is right now is learning how to do light well, learning how to do retouch really well, um, and then make interesting images out of like, I don't know, not a lot of visually interesting things going on. So for instance, I don't have a cool landscape. I don't have, mm, a cityscape or, a whole bunch of textures or anything like that. I have a model with a plain white backdrop. Um, so how do I go get that model with a plain white backdrop, do pretty lighting, or lighting that showcases the model in a really good way? Um, and how do I provoke the model to give me interesting looks, that I can then turn into something super cool? So right now I'm just practicing my fundamentals. And then hopefully, when I really have my fundamentals down, I can start doing a lot more complex things, like, for instance, getting studio lighting, and going on site somewhere, or, um, you know, mm, having different environments and stuff like that. But right now, it's just figuring out how to work with models, how to work with light, and how to make interesting images, with not a lot going on. That's awesome. What kind of pictures do you like taking? So pretty much everywhere. So I have this thing where it's like almost like a business card of like I like your look, right? And then basically I just invite people to test shoots, right? I shoot my friends, I shoot my wife's friends. Um, Basically if like myself or my partner or whatever, she helps me with a lot of things. Um, like somebody's look and they're cool people too, like because that's the cool thing, like, or the other thing too is like it doesn't matter if you have the coolest look in the world, like if you're not a cool person, I don't want to be around you, let alone do work with you. But so we just have prerequisites, like and it can be a perfect stranger, like I shot a perfect stranger just last week, and it ended up being like the most awesome photo shoot ever. Um, but it's really just for me, and my wife, it's just approaching people and, hey, this is what I do. This is what I'd like to do. Do you want to, go do a test shoot and stuff like that? And then you go do a test shoot, and if the test shoot ends up being super cool, then you have a model that comes back and does more work with you. Um, it's really, I guess it's seemingly that simple. Um, so this is kind of I guess, before and after. I still feel that it's much too sharp. But I do like the lips and I do like the nostril. So I'm going to work on the eyes just a little bit more. And then just kind of calm them down a little bit. So just get that naturalistic type feel. You shoot portraits. Super awesome. Well, if you're on Instagram, definitely connect with me there. That's the best way that I can go see your work. Kind of support each other, build the community up a little bit. But yeah, definitely hit me up over there if Instagram is a thing you do. So I'd love to see your work. I think that's the biggest exciting thing that I'm learning right now is I get to interact with cool people and at various levels of their growth, and I don't know, it's just cool. I like it a lot. All right, so I'm just gonna calm down. That's super awesome. Yeah, I love like people that just can just go like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do natural light, outdoors, all that good stuff, lifestyle type stuff, portrait outside, like super props to them. So I don't necessarily find it intimidating, but at the same time, I do realize that I have a lot to learn. So I'm kind of doing that like KISS acronym of keep it simple, stupid. So I'm keeping it simple. Curtain backdrop, cool person in front of the camera, and Photoshop. Oh, I was just gonna say with your Instagram, if you're on Instagram, I have mine on my feed, but if you want to go connect, that's probably the best way to do that. I'd definitely love to see what you do. After I'm done streaming and stuff like that, I usually go through the comments anyway to go find everybody and that I've talked to or whatever and go see what they do. Yeah, definitely freaking drop by the Instagram and stuff like that and kind of connect a little bit and all that good stuff. Cool beans. All right, so super subtle on the eyes, super subtle on the lips, and super subtle on the mouth. All right, cool. I'm happy with that. All right, so let's see. All right, so I want to say that that's a done image. I'm actually pleased with that. Subtle, simple, ballerina portrait with essentially a romper. So super simple. All right, so I'm going to collapse all of my layers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going into, let's do metadata first. So let's see. All right, so we're going to go export, set copyright, super fun. All right, so that's done. All right, so basically what I do with this usually, let's save that. When I go to like Instagram, like for me right now, it's important to like how I deliver it, right? So between, because all of these pictures and stuff like that, they're just building a folio right now, like. Yeah, so the way that I do it is really, really simple, or the way that I started doing it, rather. It's just really clean. So what I essentially do is I'll go to... wrong one. So export, resize for web. This is a retouching toolkit that I acquired some time ago. It's helped me out a lot. All it does is it's like a series of actions, like if you were in your action folder. They just made it so that it's just easy for you. So It's part of what I use in my pipeline or whatever. It's just something that works well. So basically what I'll do is I'll get this, I'll resize it for web, do the 2048. Let's see. And then I'll resize that. And then I'll go back to this again, the original image. And this is where I'll start cropping. So what I've been doing with Instagram recently is I've been doing kind of a threefold type of thing. So it's the main image, and then it's a little bit closer cropped in so people could see what's going on. And then it's a secondary crop where it's even closer. And what that's doing for me is it's, showcasing retouch, the idea that the image is super clean, all that stuff. And what I try to do with the crops is I try to make sure that I'm doing, rules of thirds with visual interest. So let's see if I can go and play with all that at once. Cool. So I like that a little bit of her turquoise, or her ring is in frame with the silver. And then I'll hit that again, and then basically her lips, visual interest, and her closest eye, visual interest. So it's basically on that grid as such. Let's see if that's flattering when I crop it. If it is, then I'll do the same thing. I'll resize for web, and then I'll do one more crop. When they're all cropped, I'll do a secondary crop where I go and put a white border on everything. So I don't like how this is clipped right here. So I'm going to make a little bit of an adjustment. And let's see what that does. So a lot of photographers that I follow will go and kind of, kind of set up their cropping camera, and what you see is what you get. But, I guess for my my purposes currently, I'll do that in Photoshop. Just kind of go from there. Yeah, a little bit. Like I'm shooting on a Nikon, I think D850. So I think they have like what is it? Like a 48 megapixel camera, so not too big. Definitely not a medium format camera. Like I can only imagine like working with like a Hasselblad or something like that. So I'm still not liking the crop. So it's so funny because this is almost like trivial, but at the same time, you like what you like. So present what you like, how you like it, and hopefully people respond well. I'm not sure if this is accurate or not, but like I've heard that if you don't delete the cropped pixels when you do crop, it doesn't take away information. So I don't know if it like loads it into like the difference or where I even heard that from, but I don't know. Weird. All right, so I like that one, just slightly different. But I'll throw that into my save for web as well. I'll go back to it again, and then one more time. See if we can kind of showcase the face and the skin. I don't know if the skin details will show up, particularly on something like Instagram or something like that. But oh well, either way, it makes a what do you call that? I forget what it's called when you do like multiple images on Instagram, your little wheel or whatever. Maybe it's like a kaleidoscope or something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway. Let's see. Oh, awesome. Your work is sick. Super cool. I love how like I like how subtle your color usage is. That's super cool. Super awesome. Yeah, I'll check that out a little bit later. Definitely. Great work. All right, how do we want to do this one? All right, here we go. Still not happy with it. Yay. Let's do something a little bit more interesting, maybe. All right, change up the tunes a little bit. All right, here we go. Alright, I think that's gonna be the one for now. That'll be super fine. Alright, cool. Alright, next little thing. And we'll go from there. If I could get my headphones on. Alright, here we go.